Let me start with a piece of advice. Never trust a man who says, "We're in this together," especially if he's wearing Italian loafers, smells like cedarwood and self-importance, and just got promoted to CEO of the company where you've been breaking your back for 12 years. My name's Nate. I used to work in corporate communications at a tech company in Boston, one of those open concept offices where no one has privacy and everyone pretends to love kombucha. I wasn't important enough to have a corner office, but I was important enough to know things people people say on Slack, things that could sink a career if they were, say, forwarded to HR. I met Trevor Sanderson on my first day, Fayette Revision Technologies. He was charming in that way white-collar sociopaths often are, well-groomed, slightly too enthusiastic, always with a gym bag even though I never once saw him sweat. We were interns together, young, dumb, over-caffeinated, but we clicked. Maybe it was because we were both broke and competitive, maybe because we were equally cynical about the tech industry, pretending to save the world while selling people's data to the highest bidder. Fast forward 10 years. Trevor becomes VP of Strategic Growth, whatever the hell that means, and I'm his right-hand man. We have a rhythm. He talks, I polish, he schemes, I spin. I even ghost-wrote his TEDx talk about emotional capitalism. It got 2.3 million views and a standing ovation. He cried, on stage. The man deserves an Oscar. I was loyal. I ignored how he took credit for my ideas in meetings. I let it slide when he introduced me as my comms guy instead of, I don't know, Nate, the guy who covered for him when he disappeared for mysterious offsites with a certain married board member. Then came the email. Subject line, Executive Realignment. Trevor had been promoted to CEO after old man Kravitz decided to spend more time with his family, which we all knew was code for the shareholders found out he was embezzling travel funds. Trevor was 37, handsome, polished and ruthless, exactly what the board wanted, and apparently no longer what he needed from me. I got called into HR 2 days later. A woman named Darlene, who looked like she used to be a nun but now did CrossFit, read me a script about restructuring and budget reallocations and the evolving landscape of internal communications. Then she handed me a severance check and a pamphlet titled Life After Layoffs. It had a cartoon of a smiling man with a suitcase on the cover. I wanted to burn it. Trevor didn't even have the decency to fire me himself. He sent me a text. Let's grab drinks soon. This wasn't personal, hope you understand. To hope I understand, let me tell you what I understand. I understand betrayal. I understand what it feels like to be tossed aside like a stale bagel from the break room. I understand that the man I once considered my best friend had just made the dumbest mistake of his perfectly moisturized life. Because unlike Trevor, I remembered everything. I remembered that time in Vegas when he cried in the hotel bathtub, drunk off overpriced whiskey, and admitted he falsified KPIs for a pitch deck. I remembered the intern he hooked up with, the one who was only 19, the one he paid off with a hush contract and a fake LinkedIn endorsement. I remembered how he bragged at the company retreat that he had access to the CFO's password and could nuke the books if things ever went south. And I remembered one very important detail. Trevor never changed his phone's passcode. Still 0426, his mom's birthday. So yeah, I understood. After HR escorted me out with my sad little banker box, complete with a dying succulent and a coffee mug that said, "Trust me, I'm in PR." I went home, poured myself a glass of scotch I couldn't afford, and stared at my phone. So I could have texted him something scathing, or sent a reply like, "Of course, best friends always fire each other, drinks sound great, bring cyanide." But I didn't. Instead, I opened a burner email I used back when we ran a parody blog roasting startup founders. I still had the login, still had the contacts, still had the dirt, and that night, something inside me clicked. I wasn't just going to get even. I was going to end him. But first I had to act like I was broken, like I was licking my wounds and swallowing my pride. I needed to disappear in a way that made people think I was harmless, pitiful, just another laid-off mid-manager selling my plasma for rent money. So I did what any self-respecting man would do when plotting corporate revenge. I joined a WeWork, bought a pair of non-prescription glasses and told people I was consulting. And I waited, because Trevor had just become CEO, and the higher you climb, the harder you fall. The first crack came a week later. A former co-worker, Chelsea from legal, bless her gossipy heart, invited me to lunch under the guise of checking in. We met at a sushi place downtown, where I ordered water and listened while she vented. Apparently, Trevor had already fired 2 more execs, installed his cronies, and was planning to streamline product development by outsourcing half the team to Serbia. Morale was in the toilet. And worse, he'd started making decisions, big ones, dangerous ones, like pursuing a merger with a crypto payment company run by a guy who called himself the blockchain whisperer. Chelsea didn't know it yet, but she was handing me gold. See, Trevor might have been cunning, but he wasn't smart. Not really. Not in the way that matters when you're CEO of a company teetering on the edge of an SEC investigation. Not in the way that matters when your former best friend has a USB drive with 12 years of internal memos, scandalous texts, and screenshots of Slack messages like, "If this blows up, I'll just blame Denise. She's pregnant. People won't question it." Classic Trevor. It took me 3 weeks to build the plan, not the revenge itself. Oh no, that was the easy part. I needed the audience. What good is a downfall if no one's watching? So I started writing an anonymous Substack. Title, The Scorpion's Office Chair. Tagline, Corporate horror stories from someone who's seen it all. At first I published general stories, generic enough to be untraceable, juicy enough to go viral. The internet loves tales of boardroom debauchery and fraudulent execs who think they're bulletproof. After post 3, I had 20,000 subscribers. After post 5, I got an anonymous tip. Someone inside Revision. Someone who didn't like the new regime. They called themselves Echo. They said, "If you're who I think you are, I'm in." And just like that, I wasn't alone. The game had started. Trevor had no idea. He was on LinkedIn posting gym selfies with captions like, "Leadership starts at 5 a.m. And I was sharpening my knives. The thing about revenge is that it's like soufflé, delicate, dramatic, and deeply satisfying when it doesn't collapse. By the time the Scorpion's Office Chair hit 50,000 subscribers, I realized something. I had built a cult. People were obsessed. Reddit threads dissected every line. TikTok girlies made dramatic readings. One YouTuber called me the corporate vigilante we didn't know we needed. I wasn't just anonymous, I was addictive. And Trevor? Oh, he was thriving, publicly at least. He gave an interview in Forbes where he talked about revolutionizing synergy between tech and the human soul. He posed next to a whiteboard with buzzwords like frictionless value and disruption. As empathy. I almost choked on my microwaved burrito privately, though. He was scrambling. My insider, Echo, fed me just enough to keep the noose tightening. Board members were uneasy, investors were skeptical, and internal Slack channels were flooded with memes mocking his leadership. Someone even made a deep fake video of Trevor rapping Eminem lyrics. It had 300,000 views before it got pulled, but the real show started when I dropped post number 7, the CEO who burned the books. I didn't name names, of course. Just a certain Boston-based tech firm with a chiseled young CEO who once confessed in a Vegas bathtub that he falsified quarterly metrics. People lost their damn minds. Speculation exploded. Hedge fund managers started sniffing. The SEC sent a polite but ominous letter to Revision's legal department, and Trevor, well, he finally noticed the fire under his Aeron chair. That's when I got a text. From his number. "I know it's you. Let's talk." No greeting. No signature. Classic Trevor. Still thinking he could control the narrative. Still thinking he was the protagonist in this little Greek tragedy. I didn't reply, but I did smile. He didn't know the half of it. Because while he was trying to swat flies, I was building a bomb. Let's rewind a bit. After I got fired, I didn't just create a Substack and a burner email. I created a network. You'd be surprised how many people hate their CEOs. You'd be even more surprised how many will share damning documents in exchange for Starbucks gift cards and validation. I posed as a journalist. I posed as a recruiter. I posed as an ex-intern doing a PhD on workplace trauma. It was disturbingly easy. I gathered a deleted calendar invite titled Shoreline Diversion Plan, Delete After Reading. A screenshot of a private Slack, where Trevor called the diversity committee optics theatre, a voice memo from a junior engineer crying after Trevor berated her in front of her team, and best of all, a PDF of an internal audit. Trevor tried to bury one that showed irregular stock option grants to, wait for it, himself. That was the moment I knew. I didn't just have dirt, I had dynamite, but I didn't want to use it just yet. No, this wasn't just about destruction, this was about humiliation. So I made a new plan. A beautiful, petty, Machiavellian plan. I'd hit him where it really hurt. Not just his job, not just his reputation, his ego. Step 1. Infiltrate his new project. You remember Chelsea from Legal? Turns out she had a friend, Annika, who was freelancing on Revision's upcoming launch, a partnership with a crypto platform that promised to reinvent digital wallets through decentralized emotional alignment. Translation: expensive, vague nonsense. I called Annika, pretended I was writing for Fast Company, told her I was doing a piece on emerging fintech startups and needed sources. She ate it up. 2 days later, I was in a Zoom call with 3 of the platform's co-founders, all of whom looked like they vaped protein powder and quoted Naval Ravikant like scripture. They sent me a pitch deck. It was chaotic. I mean, these guys had slides about quantum trust ecosystems and a section titled Tokenizing Grief. I saved every file. Why? Because Trevor had already invested $3 million of Revision's money into this garbage fire without board approval. Echo confirmed it. I had emails, texts, a Slack message that said, verbatim, "We don't need compliance. This thing will moon before they notice." Beautiful. But I still needed one final touch. Something personal. So I reached out to someone I swore I'd never talk to again. Her name was Grace. She was the intern, the one from 5 years ago, the one Trevor seduced, used, and gag-ordered into silence. She was living in Chicago now, working for a non-profit. I found her through her Goodreads account. Never underestimate the breadcrumbs people leave in book reviews. At first she didn't respond. Then, one night, she called me. "I don't want revenge," she said. "I want the truth out. I'll protect you," I said. "You already didn't," she snapped. Fair, but in the end she sent me everything. The NDA, the texts, a selfie he made her send as insurance. It was disgusting. It was gold. It was justice. And it was time. The day of the Tech Vision Summit was poetic. Trevor was the keynote speaker. Scheduled to unveil the crypto partnership on stage in front of 2,000 attendees and a live stream audience of at least 50,000. I bought a virtual ticket under a fake name, made popcorn, poured a drink, turned off my phone. Then I scheduled my final post. Post number 10, the friend who fired me. It went live 5 minutes before Trevor walked on stage. The title alone sent Twitter into a frenzy, but it was the content that detonated. I laid it all out. Every skeleton, every fraud, every NDA, every shady wire transfer and plagiarized TED Talk quote. I dropped documents, audio, a video compilation of Trevor contradicting himself in interviews over the years. I included the Vegas confession, the Eden stock grant scandal, the crypto meltdown, and at the end a message from Grace. She didn't show her face, just her voice, but it was enough. "You can build a career on lies," she said, "but eventually someone opens the books." The internet exploded. Reddit servers probably caught fire. People clipped Trevor's keynote in real time as he stuttered. Through his speech, clearly trying to smile while his world caved in. He looked pale, sweaty, cornered. The press bombarded Revision's PR team. Stock prices plummeted. Investors panicked. And somewhere in a WeWork conference room with bad lighting, I toasted the moment. That was my TED Talk, and I didn't even cry. You'd think that would be the end, right? Revenge delivered. Scandal exposed. Villain dethroned. Not quite. Because Trevor didn't go down quietly. He tried to sue, claimed defamation, hired a PR crisis firm that issued a statement full of phrases like committed to transparency and leadership evolution. It didn't help. The board forced him to step down within 72 hours. Grace's story made the front page of the New York Times. The crypto deal collapsed. And Revision. They issued a public apology. Guess who they quietly tried to hire back as a consultant? I'll give you a hint. He's sarcastic, vengeful, and currently sipping scotch while drafting part 3 of this story. But I said no, not because I'm noble. Because I'm busy. I'm building something new. With Echo. With Grace. With a few others who know what it's like to be betrayed by people who talk about teamwork while holding the knife. We're not whistleblowers. We're not heroes. We're something. Worse, we're watching. You'd think the story ends with Trevor fired, bankrupt, and publicly humiliated, and you'd be partially right. He did lose his job. His reputation was torched. Grace's statement made national news. Toxic Trevor trended for 3 days straight, right between Duas AI Jesus and Juwan Taylor Swift divorced. But this isn't one of those moral of the story parables where the bad guy gets his comeuppance and the good guy fades into well-deserved obscurity. Because I'm not the good guy, and Trevor wasn't done yet. 2 weeks after his resignation, he popped up on LinkedIn, chin held high, cheekbones still annoyingly perfect, posting a smug-as-hell selfie captioned, "Sometimes you fall so you can fly higher," excited for what's next. Leadership, young growth mindset, startups. I threw my phone. This man was unemployed, publicly disgraced, and still had the nerve to use hashtags like growth mindset. So I did what any mature, emotionally stable adult would do. I made a fake angel investor. Profile Veronica Steele, Stanford alum, Silicon Valley darling. Heavy on the disruption lingo, I DM'd him. "Hi Trevor, heard about your pivot. I invest in early-stage founders with a chip on their shoulder. Let's talk." He replied in 6 minutes. The man was desperate. Over the next week, Veronica and Trevor exchanged dozens of messages. He pitched her his comeback company, a mental wellness app built on AI-generated affirmations. Yes, really. He called it Soul Fuel. I almost cried laughing. The pitch deck was full of words like empathic architecture and algorithmic self-compassion. He even photoshopped fake testimonials from beta users. Veronica loved it, obviously. She promised $500,000 in pre-seed funding, on one condition, a live pitch over Zoom with her partners. He agreed. I gathered the team, Grace, Echo, Annika from the crypto flop, even Chelsea from legal who brought wine. We muted our mics and watched as Trevor slid into the Zoom room like he was auditioning for Shark Tank. He smiled. He monologued. He actually used the phrase, healing through machine learning. I let him go on for 25 minutes. Then I unmuted. "Hi, Trevor," I said. He froze. His smile cracked. "Recognize my voice?" "Eli." "Ding ding. Say hi to the partners." One by one they unmuted, said his name. Let it sink in. He stared at us, silent, pale. Then I ended the call just like he ended my career. No closure, no apology, just click. After that, he vanished from the startup scene. Changed his last name, deleted his socials. Last I heard, he was consulting for some sketchy NFT collective in Dubai. And me? Well, remember that Substack? I sold it. Anonymous expose turned media empire. HBO is sniffing around for adaptation rights. Grace got a book deal. Echo runs our investigative team. Chelsea's dating a federal prosecutor and somehow still finds time to leak juicy NDAs. As for me, I'm good. Not healed, not pure, not a better man, but satisfied, because revenge isn't about justice, it's about balance, and now the scales are even.